Hi everyone, welcome to another panel. This one is called How to Reach Wider by Targeting the Niche. And first of all, I would like to introduce Karolina Centkowska. She is a plant-based challenge coordinator at Otwarte Klatki in Poland. She has been a part of Otwarte Klatki since 2016 as a volunteer and since 2019 as an employee. Her goal in the campaign is to promote plant-based diets and to promote meat reduction among consumers. So, welcome everyone. I'm passing the microphone to Karolina and have fun.
Hi everyone, my name is Karolina, and today on this panel we will talk about how to reach wider by targeting the niche. Later on I will be joined by Alicia, Kristoffer and Ania, and we will talk together about our experiences running special editions of plant-based challenges. But at first I want to start with this introduction, and yes, let's begin. Even though some of you might not be running similar campaigns to ours, still I believe that there will be certain parts that you can use in your everyday activities. So stay tuned for that. And let me begin by sharing a few informations about the marketing funnel. If you have not heard of that, this is basically how customers flow from just being aware about the existence of the brand towards being their actual customer and towards buying their products. So here, for example, I chose those 4 levels because there are a lot of different ways of describing the levels of marketing funnel. At first, people generally find out about the brand or the product. In our case, I would say the first level, the level of exposure, would be when people find out about plant-based diet or our campaign. Then there's discovery. So on this level, people, I would say, find out what does it exactly mean to eat plant-based, or what our campaign actually does. Then there's consideration. So at this point, people might think, okay, maybe I should try some plant-based meals, or maybe I should sign up for this campaign and find out more. And there at the very end, you have conversion, which means that in our case, people sign up for the challenge. So in general, our challenges run in a way that you can just visit our website and sign up, then receive a lot of informations, a series of newsletters. In this way, we try to encourage people to eat more plant-based. But even though this is generally our product, the newsletters are our product, still, we try to make sure that we not only convince people to sign up, because those people at the very beginning of marketing funnel, the people who are just merely aware of the existence of plant-based diet, will probably not be very likely to just jump ahead and commit to the idea of even trying to eat less meat. So in general, we not only try to get as many signups as we can, but also we try to raise the amount of people that are generally aware about the plant-based diet. So with that being said, we try to make sure that there are more and more people on every level of this funnel, because people go down like this. So if they are not aware at all, they won't sign up. We have to make sure a lot of people know. So next step can be for them to sign up or not. Everyone is in the different place in their lives. And with that being said, why would we reach out to the niche? We want, as I said, to reach out the widest we can. And the niche, from definition, is quite a small group of people. But we want to also influence social change. So there is data that shows that you need 25% of a certain group to support a cause in order for the entire group to like acknowledge it and try making changes themselves. So a good example would be this anecdote about solar panels. It would be better to help install solar panels in one neighborhood instead of spreading those solar panels out throughout many different districts. Because if one neighborhood sees that a lot of their neighbors actually own solar panels, they themselves are more likely to install them in their homes. So the same goes for example, plant-based diet. If you see that your colleagues, your friends eat more plant-based food, eat maybe fully plant-based, you are more likely to try those options because they seem like something people do, and you want to fit in with the rest of the society, pretty much. So a good source of information about that would be book Change by Damon Centola, and also podcast The Snowball Effect by Hidden Brain, which is based on this book. So I encourage you to check that out. There are a lot of informations about how you generally would like to reach out to those smaller groups and so on. And let me get through how in general in few steps we plan our campaigns and what are the most important bases for that. So firstly, you need to find your niche. And we will, of course, talk about it a little bit more further in the panel. But this is, I would say, this would be the first step, because you have to know who you are targeting. And when you realize who you want to target, then it would be really important to find the right partner to do that with. So in our case, in Poland, we ran a sports campaign in January, and we collaborated with our sports campaign Jasna Strona Mocy. So together we created materials, together we reached out to influencers, and in May we did the same with Polish Association of Lifestyle Medicine. So I think this is very important. Denmark did it also with Greenpeace when they organized climate challenge. So I think it's very important to find those collaborations that are very good way to work together on common goals. And also you really save a lot of time on research, because for example, working with Polish Association of Lifestyle Medicine allowed us to create so much valuable content that we could not possibly have done ourselves, not being medical community. And also it allowed us to get the access of this medical community experience. We could really find out how to reach out to those people. So creating those collaborations, this is very important element of designing your campaign. But if you cannot find great collaborators, I think it's still possible to do this research yourself and do this on your own. Yet still, I think it's worth to check out whether there are actually people in your country who you can work with. And a very important part of running a challenge as well is creating materials. Materials are actually the products that we try to sell or get out there. So when people sign up to our challenge, they receive a lot of materials, and we need to make sure that these materials are actually valuable, and they have their scientific basis, they have they are useful not only to participants in general, but to those niches that we target. If we create sports challenge, it would be kind of weird to include a lot of things that doesn't connect with that. So we try to make sure that those materials are good. But also what I would like to mention is that it's very important to find a good balance in between creating valuable materials and also promoting the challenge, because you don't have like countless amounts of hours. And if you don't promote the challenge well, then the materials won't get to anyone anyway. So it's really important to also remember about recycling materials. For example, if you have materials about something basic, like we have our breakfast inspirations article, we would change that for high protein breakfast inspirations when it comes to sports challenge, or healthy breakfast inspirations when it comes to health challenge. We would do a lot of those things and just add some information, just generally use the same things, but twist them a little bit in a way that it's still interesting, and we save some time on creating everything from the start. And also, very important thing is reaching to people who influence other people. So that might be celebrities, social media influencers, politicians, or companies. There are a lot of great examples. In Poland, we worked a lot with influencers, and what I would like to say is that it is worth to consider working with more smaller influencers than only with those huge ones, because the smaller influencers oftentimes have more dedicated audiences, and it's sometimes kind of easier working with them. They are more likely to, for example, create more interesting content for you for free, and we did in those two cases of health challenge and sports challenge, we worked with influencers only for free. So I would say that we will touch upon the subject of working with other people of influence also in the panel. So that's just an introduction. And very important part of our of planning our campaign is to plan the time to actually promote it, and to reach out to the media, and to plan posts and ads on social media, because you generally want the challenge to reach as many people as possible. Okay, so this is a short description of how our actions worked, and now I invite you over to listen to us in the panel. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for watching, and we will go to the panel right now. We are joined here by three wonderful people that I will introduce right now. First of all, it's Alicia Baska. She is Executive Director and co-founder in a Polish Society of Lifestyle Medicine. And Alicia is a physician during residency training in public health. She's board certified in lifestyle medicine. She's an Executive Director and co-founder of Polish Association of Lifestyle Medicine. And she works as an academic teacher and research assistant at the postgraduate medical education. She's newly established department of lifestyle medicine based at the School of Public Health. She's generally very talented and very knowledgeable, so I'm very excited that she could join us here.
Thank you. Hello, nice to be here.
Yes, next we are also joined by Kristoffer Nielsen, who is our colleague from Anima, and Kristoffer works in plant-based campaigns in Anima International. One project he has focused on has been furthering collaboration with the environmental movement by working together on positive vegan outreach in an online pledge program.
Hello.
So, this is Kristoffer, very excited to have you here. And Next, it's Ania, of course. And Ania is our sports campaign specialist in Otwarte Klatki. She has been part of Otwarte Klatki since 2014. Currently, she leads the sports campaign Jasna Strona Mocy. The initiative does away with stereotypes surrounding plant-based diets and collaborates with accomplished competition athletes as well as renewed nutritionists to reach a large and diverse audience of sport enthusiasts. By popularizing a more plant-based diet through sports, the campaign breaks new grounds in outreach work. So this is Ania.
Hi.
Yeah, and we will start this panel by actually giving some space to each of us, and we will talk about our key takeaways from the special editions of challenges that we led. So let's start with Alicia. She will talk a little bit further about working with the medical community.
Yes, hello once again. I think in the very beginning, I would like to address a little bit what lifestyle medicine is in general, so our audience has the awareness or see the potential of collaboration with this kind of movement, as I like to call it. So lifestyle medicine is quite a new branch of medicine that focuses on lifestyle modifications in order to prevent, but also manage and reverse many diseases, as many as around 70% of diseases that we manage today, because they are all lifestyle related. And one of the pillars of lifestyle medicine is healthy nutrition. And as research says, plant-based diets, whole food plant-based diets, are one of the most healthy, nutritious diets that exist in the universe. So I think that a lifestyle medicine movement or lifestyle medicine specialists are a natural ally for plant-based campaigns. And I think that we managed together with Open Cages, Roślinnie, to show how those two movements, those two organizations, as Polish Society of Lifestyle Medicine and NGO Otwarte Klatki, can collaborate together in order to reach further. And I think it's also important to point out why medical community, why healthcare professionals, in my opinion, are such a good niche to target. Actually, I do believe it's not such a niche, because if we think about what kind of influence healthcare professionals can have, it turns out that it's quite a good amount of general public. And our main target, or for me, the main target in our health challenge that we made as for the first time in May, but it will continue, was to show to the healthcare professionals or provide them with some kind of tools that they can use in their daily practice. And as I said, a healthcare professional is targeting one healthcare professional does not mean targeting one person. It means also possibly, potentially reaching out to dozens, if not hundreds, of their patients. So by targeting one person in this community, we can reach much, much further. And what is also very important and what aligns with what Roślinnie and Open Cages already noticed is that most of the people who did join the plant-based challenges before other editions said that the main motivator for them was their health improvement. So that's why they were joining the challenge. And this also aligns with what the research says in general about the dietary changes, that we are quite egoistic and selfish, and we would like to take care of our own health or quality of life. And that's why most often we decide to make these major changes in our lives in order to feel better. And that's why I do believe that this is such a great opportunity to join forces and to show to the people and to the healthcare professionals that, hey, here you have quite a successful, effective tool in order to change and enhance your life. And this is what we were trying to do with our challenge. I think we were quite successful as for the first edition. We reached out to 5,000 almost people in Poland. And I would like to finish my short introduction with a personal story that happened to me this week. I was invited to the local Chamber of Physicians, an organization that is obligatory to be joined for all physicians in Poland. and we have different chambers in different regions in Poland. So I was here in Warsaw, and they invited me to lead a culinary workshop for physicians on plant-based diets, on organizing a good, healthy lunchbox that you can take on duty with you to the hospital. And of course, it was already a nice opportunity, and I love culinary workshops and meeting with physicians this way. But I had a really nice meeting with one of the participants. She came to me after the workshop, and she said that she's here today with us because she signed up for the challenge in May. And since then, since May, she excluded totally all of the animal-derived products from her diets. And not only she did it to herself, but she also managed to convince her mother. And she's a young physician. She's just graduated from a medical university 1 year ago. And she already says that she wants to do this with her patients in the future. And we had a little chat about the challenge, what she liked about it. She generally gave me quite a nice feedback, and it was really motivating and empowering to see this one person, because oftentimes when we create campaigns like this, we never know who is on this other side, whether we are talking to anyone at all. We know we have these numbers that we have 5,000 participants, but this meeting with one of this person and giving an evidence that it can work, it's really strong and powerful. So yes, I do believe that it has a huge potential, and of course I see a huge room for improvements with this challenge. And I hope that during this discussion I will also have a space to talk a little bit about the things that I think we need to improve, or why we didn't use the whole or full potential. But to begin with, I think it's quite enough to start.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alicia, for talking so beautifully about what we did with Health Challenge. And now, Kristoffer, let everyone know how it worked with Climate Challenge.
Yes, sure. So to motivate this collaboration that we did in a bit the same way, I can talk a bit about the background for our focusing on the establishing connections with the environmental movement. And that was that back in, I think, 2018 and 19 in Denmark, there was building a very huge momentum for the climate change discussions. It was becoming much more prominent than it had been before. There were some big influential reports coming out that really proved beyond doubt that the climate situation and the way that we eat are very closely connected. And of course, there was Greta Thunberg effects. I think she gave a lot of prominence also to the issue. So this all led to, when we had the national elections in 2019, climate was on the top of the agenda, and some called it a climate election. So this turned into a new governmental goal after the election of reducing emissions by 70% by 2030, which was quite ambitious at the time, I think. So there were a lot of discussion happening about climate. So from our perspective, we wanted to see if we could insert the plant-based message more into this debate than it already was, because it is a really important part of the solutions for the climate crisis. And we did this by reaching out to Greenpeace in Denmark to ask if they wanted to collaborate with us on our Vegan Challenge program, where we had planned for the upcoming January a kind of bigger Veganuary style version of the campaign, where we wanted to invite or reach many thousand people. I think we reached 12,000 in that January, which is not so big compared to Veganuary, but it's big for Denmark. So Greenpeace, they actually were very much on board with this. They had been looking for an opportunity to also do more plant-based work. So we collaborated on this version of the challenge, where besides reaching more individuals who are more focused on climate, we also decided to try to engage more politicians because of the big political debate about climate at the time, which also turned out to be quite successful. I think we had 15 politicians from across the spectrum joining the challenge and backing the idea of eating plant-based for climate reasons. And we also partnered with companies where the idea was that they would serve plant-based lunches for the whole month of January. Some big prominent companies joined that. And then I think the collaboration with Greenpeace in itself was also really valuable. They engaged some of their ambassadors to talk about this issue. And I think it's the climate niche, if we can still call it a niche. I think it is also getting very big. It's very worth to focus on, because there is almost complete overlap between the goals that we have from the animal rights perspective and the goals that we can have from saving the planet perspective in terms of changing the food system. I think also when we reach this niche, it is some people who are already very engaged in trying to do the environmentally right thing, which has been conserving water and power and biking instead of driving the car. And then reducing meat consumption has been the new thing that these people are caring more about. And I think, as we've seen this year, the climate crisis, it escalates, and there are floods and awful things happening. I think the percentage of people who really care about this issue and are ready to take action on it will just grow bigger, especially among young people, which I think is one of the best groups that we can reach. So that's my little intro.
Great, such a good job you did in Denmark. I'm so excited we can talk about all of this. And Ania, now let's talk about the sports challenge that we did.
Yeah, so I'm in charge of the sports campaign in Poland called Jasna Strona Mocy. And just to give you a bit of a background what it's about, when we started it, we decided to focus on people who are into sports. And on the one hand, it was motivated by us knowing that not all people care about animals, unfortunately, as much as we would like to. But just as to confirm what Alicia said, we had the same experience that a lot of people are motivated purely by health reasons. And the sports campaign was kind of started to target specifically men, because they are quite a challenging group to reach with the plant-based message, so to say. The thing is, important thing is that the one thing that vegans and sports enthusiasts or athletes have in common is they talk about food a lot, and the diet and nutrition is like a huge part of their life and what they talk about. So we decided that it's a good idea to merge these two areas. And when it comes to sports, on the one hand, it's still like the sphere where the stereotypes concerning plant-based diets are still very strong. But on the other hand, it's also a community that, due to the fact that they are looking for ways to improve their health, increase their performance, and this is true for professional athletes, but for amateur sport enthusiasts. So they keep looking for ways to improve their health, improve their performance, and one of the huge ways they can do that is what they eat and how they eat. So we decided to use this, and in the sports challenge, which we did together with Karta, we focused on physically active people, but also in a sort of indirect manner. There's also the male audience behind, or men, but also people who are not necessarily interested in an animal suffering message yet, at least. What we did, it was important for us to work with our focus, just like with the plant-based challenges, usually it was not to have as many participants as possible, although that was also important for us, and it did happen that there were a lot. The sports challenge was, I think, in Poland,
the first bigger challenge for us that gathered more of an audience.
Yeah, even though it wasn't our main goal to gather as many people as possible. Our main goal was to get the topic spoken about outside of our vegan bubble. So we targeted, we collaborated with a lot of influencers who are not vegans and who have this kind of audience that we care about the most. And it turned out very well, and we did manage to reach a lot of people that we would usually not be able to reach. But also, it increased our credibility, because these are like people who are specialists in their fields, and they are doing a lot of good for promoting the plant-based diet among the people that are hard to reach for us sometimes. Okay, so I think that's enough of an introduction.
Yeah, thank you very much for telling us something about Sports Challenge. And yes, now let's talk some more. We have some questions, but if you guys watching want to ask us something specific, then we will also look at those questions in a while. So I'll leave them in the live chat feature on the inventory. Yeah. And let us start with talking about what is the coolest thing that you think we managed to do in the campaign. Maybe Kristoffer, you can speak up first.
Yeah, I think we did some rounds of this campaign, especially last year. And I think some of the best outcomes were that we managed to get so many politicians on board. And they ended up getting, like, they were very positive about it. Some of them had actually previously been very publicly negative about vegan food, criticizing the one day that there was a meatless meal in the parliament canteen. But they were very positive when they had our guidance, and they appeared on national media, 2 of them from each side of the political spectrum. Which turned into some really positive media attention around eating plant-based, I think. Also, the companies we had joining the challenge in January, where they had the vegan lunches for a whole month, also gathered a little media attention. And I think that's something that could be built more upon, introducing vegan food as a CSR policy in companies. And I think later on, other groups in Anima International has also established more connections with Greenpeace and other environmental organizations, which I think has also been very valuable. And I think in general, for the long-term effects, I think that has been the best outcome of this, that we have collaborated more with the environmental organizations. And in general, there are now more connections between the animal protection and the vegetarian organizations and the environmental organizations. We see in Denmark that they are all kind of speaking with a united and very vocal voice about the food system, such that now when there are political discussions about what to do about agriculture, how to reduce emissions, whichever of these organizations you look to, they all have the same message that we really need to not have so many animals in the food sector. I think that has probably been the best outcome.
Yeah, that's very cool. Ania, what do you think was the coolest thing?
Yeah, I will also say that the collaborations that we had with a lot of people, like from social media, Instagrammers and nutritionists and so on, these have also proven, like, I hope they will last. Like, we did manage to get these connections, and the cooperation went really well. So I think this would be it. We were invited to several podcasts to talk about nutrition. Like, these were nutrition-focused podcasts, and it was really cool to be able to talk with a dietitian on a podcast about plant-based diet, about the benefits that it offers. Yeah, I would say that this was the coolest part.
Yeah, I must agree. I really liked how our collaborations with influencers worked, both in Sports Challenge and Health Challenge. And I was very excited watching people opening up our packages on their Insta stories.
Yeah,
because we did send packages with plant-based products to the influencers. And it was so cool to see those very big athletes, guys that don't usually probably cook vegan, opening up the packages and being like, ooh, plant-based chicken. Yeah, it was so cool to see that, and we definitely plan on doing that some more. This allowed us also to collaborate with certain brands, and those collaborations with influencers definitely they last for longer, not only for the duration of the challenge, so it opens the door for a lot of other things. And Alicia, what did you like the best?
I will go further with what you said about the gift boxes, because actually when I think about some highlights for me, I think is seeing a picture of a professor of medicine ahead of a very big family medicine association in Poland. So an association that gathers together all of the family physicians in our country, wearing our apron with Polish Society of Lifestyle Medicine and saying that she joined the plant-based challenge. And even though she didn't really join the plant-based challenge, she didn't go vegan or plant-based for the whole month. The fact that she decided to support the initiative was very important in the eyes of other physicians. And in general, I really, when talking about targeting the niche within the niche, I do believe that family physicians is the group within the medical community that is quite important to be addressed. And I think that one of other cool things was to see that the links that we established before, like our society used to collaborate already with Family Physician Association and other associations, are strong enough for them to support us another time, not requiring a lot of information, not requiring us to explain what the whole initiative is about, who is organizing it and why. They actually took it and said, okay, it's cool, we want to join it. So it was a good test of our relationships with other physicians, individuals, but also with the whole organizations. And it really, really made me smile a lot. And the same thing happened in social media. Some quite popular medics active in social media did also show that they are part of this challenge. And I do believe that their followers were the ones who joined the challenge later on. So I think this was pretty cool.
Yeah, very much. And my next question would be actually, what do you think we can do better next time? What lessons did you take from our first experiences? Maybe Ania, you can start.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, what lessons did we learn and what we can fix?
I think with more time and some better preparation, we could have done it better. It was really good anyway, but I think we could do more with the potential that it had. And I think we are going to do this again because there's a lot of things that we didn't manage to do or even come up with, probably because only after we've done the challenge, some things, some ideas came up that we might consider. Yes, I think so. Yeah, and I think you mentioned that it's important to communicate. It's the basics of communication, that what we know, it's not necessarily what other people know. So there were some cases of miscommunication with influencers, especially with the ones who didn't know us before, but it wasn't anything serious.
Yeah.
And
I would have to agree. What I've learned after the first edition was that you need to really write everything down, because what is obvious for us is not obvious for everyone. So definitely, right now, even doing health challenge, we did some more preparations with that.
Yeah.
And I think we will do even more later on. And the time thing, I also have to second that. With more time, we can accomplish so much more. But I think, even though we didn't have that much time, we still managed to do quite a good job.
Yeah, just let me add one thing. On the other hand, what we gave let's call them influencers or Instagrammers a lot of freedom, and a lot of them did a lot many cool things with the thing that we gave them without us specifically telling them what to do. So it was also really, really great.
Yeah, I agree. And Alicia, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with what you already said, that time constraints are quite a difficult thing to manage, and to actually find more time to prepare things, because I think we started pretty early with discussions, but then as always, it turned out that there's too many things to be done at once. But what I think is also something to be improved is targeting different groups within our niche. Because as I said in the beginning, for me, the healthcare professionals were important. So I was trying to target them with our background and our experience and collaborations, but we also targeted general public, for example, and we also targeted doctors who are active in social media, but also wanted to reach out to those who are not. So there were so many different subgroups within this group that I do believe that if we tried to reach them in a bit different ways and provide them with a bit different communications and resources, maybe they will be more willing to be really active in this challenge. And also another thing to remember is that we were actually already targeting people who are very busy themselves. So the amount of information and the amount of resources should be as precise as possible in order to make it as easy as possible to communicate it and to remind them throughout the month that the challenge is there and that they decided to join. And another thing is that I really do believe in power of personal contact. And I know that, for example, in this edition of our challenge, I didn't have that much time in order to contact in person many people that I wanted to collaborate with, and they did receive emails with invitation and so on and so on. But the response to this kind of emails is a bit different, or would be a bit different if I called them beforehand and explained them in details what they are deciding to do, or if I met with them on Zoom or in person. So this is another thing that I think I would like to improve, because I know that they would feel more appreciated themselves and their presence in our challenge. They would feel as an important part of it and more responsible for taking this challenge out. So maybe this is something that I would like to improve. And I would like to emphasize one more time that it is important to make these challenges a bit more sustainable and to provide as much content as possible to be recycled during next editions, but also during other actions. And I think that we managed pretty well to provide Otwarte Klatki, open cages, and us with some kind of content, but there's still room for improvement. And I think we are going to be working on it throughout the next months. So it is more sustainable and has some more long-term effects or potential to bring these effects.
Definitely. And Kristoffer, how about you? What do you think of that?
I would say in terms of the climate collaboration that we did and lessons learned and what we might do different another time, I think one valuable lesson was to look at the goal of food system change from a different perspective of the climate change and environmental movement. And I think we, and definitely I, learned some things about, on a very practical level, vegan foods that are not environmentally friendly, such as fresh berries that are flown in from the other side of the world, has something like the same CO2 footprint as beef, I think, because of the long journey on a flight. So I think the bigger lesson there is to see the same issue from the eyes of different movements that we have the same goal with. I think that was valuable. And then something that we might do different, I think the collaboration with the politicians that we did, which was the way it worked was to invite them to take the challenge with our support and then try to get some media attention around it. I think something like that might have to be done differently now, because even in the big parties in Denmark, it seems that there is now pretty big support for the idea of reducing meat consumption on the individual level. We had some new dietary guidelines last year, which are actually very, very plant-based. They take into account climate and health at the same time, and they really reduce the recommended amount of meat as a small maximum. So they're largely plant-based guidelines now, I would say. And when you listen to politicians now, they are pretty much on board that they think people in Denmark, they should limit their consumption. But somehow this hasn't at all translated at least for those same politicians, to the belief that the meat sector in Denmark should be decreased. They still say that we need to produce all these pigs because then we can export it, and maybe it is 5% more environmentally friendly to produce them in Denmark. So that's the argument they use. So I think if we were to invite those politicians on a personal challenge now, it could risk becoming greenwashing of those politicians if they don't also share the belief that we need to reduce the animal sector in Denmark and globally. So I think that's something that we will have to think about, whether to approach the political side another time.
Great. So now I will actually cut in with some questions from the audience, and then we will continue with something we still want to tell you. So actually, this is a question for Ania, mostly, because somebody asked, do you provide for the participants in sport challenge ethical materials, or do you focus only on plant-based diet and stick to it fully?
We do stick to the plant-based diet. We did include, and because it's 22 newsletters for 22 days in a row, and we did include a newsletter on the climate message. And and we did take care to leave animals out of the communication for the time being, and it proved. It turned out well, and that's what we do with the sports campaign in general. We don't usually mention animal suffering. If we do mention animals, it's like in a positive way, so that we want this message to be as inclusive as possible and not like guilt-inducing. And we've seen that this works in opening people up to like a wider spectrum. So at first it's health, it's trying plant-based, and then people like start becoming interested in how the food is made. I can share a story with you actually. As a campaign, we work with the athletes and who are our ambassadors, and when we start working with them, we send out a survey, ask them a couple of questions, like what sport they do, like since when, what's their diet, and why. And actually, a couple of them have admitted that they started eating a vegetarian or a vegan diet purely like to check how they would feel, how it would be for them to train, what performance they would have. And they admitted that after some time they felt really well, so they became interested in like how the food is actually made, like where does meat come from. And then the ethical aspects followed. Like first the behavior changed, and then like the motivation also grew to include animals as well.
I think it's a great answer. I agree. And there is actually one more question, so I will throw it in here. Were all members of your group supportive about creating challenges and teaming up with other organizations and specialists? This person says that in their town or group, there is a problem that people don't want to network with people who are not vegans. So I can say from my perspective, we are kind of trying to reach out to people who are not on a plant-based diet to open the doors for them to like try more plant-based eating, and we don't focus only on making them go fully vegan. We try to get this information as far away from us as possible, like to reach the widest. So from our point of view, I think those collaborations are the most valuable with those people who can reach the people who actually do eat meat. So Kristoffer, Alicia, do you have something to add to that? Alicia?
I would like to say that there is no need to convince the convinced ones, and unfortunately we've been living in this bubble for quite a long time. And personally, for me and for my organization, it's also quite a big challenge to reach out to those who are skeptical or who are not really living with our values aligned. But as someone said very smartly, in my opinion, some time ago, I can't quote it very precisely, but there is this sentence somewhere in the social media from time to time that the biggest impact has when most of the people on our planet reduce the meat consumption, and it has more impact than if a group or bunch of people goes vegan 100%. So in order to achieve our goals, and I think we all have similar goals, the biggest achievement would be to reach out to those who only are ready right now to slowly reduce their consumption and become aware. And from this point, from this stage of change, there is the whole possibility of going fully plant-based. And very many people start with small changes, and when they feel better or when they learn about other aspects of plant-based living, and ethical reasons are something that later on comes up and becomes one of the reasons to stick to this diet, then we can see that starting small can give us very big effects. So I wouldn't cross anyone and say, okay, I'm not talking to you because you are not ready right now for this kind of changes in your life. I will leave more space for these people so they feel comfortable to reach out to us when they are ready. And if we have this aggressive kind of messaging of exclusivity of our group, then they will never get back to us later on. So this inclusivity of plant-based movement, whether it's focused on health, climate, or ethic reasons, it's something that I do believe it's a key for success.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I couldn't stress this enough, like how important it was for us to not to speak directly to people, but to speak through the people like whom they will believe, listen to. So we have a couple of for example, Instagram accounts in Poland led by nutritionists and sport nutritionists who are not themselves fully vegan, like they're flexitarians, and they're doing such a great job, promoting plant-based eating and killing out all of these stereotypes, by talking about what they know best, about nutrition, about health, about what's really the deal with plants. It's really good, and people will be way more eager to believe specialists than they would when talking about health and nutrition than they would animal rights activists. So I don't know actually the solution to this problem, that you have people in your group that don't want to be open to working with non-vegans. I would say maybe attending conferences would be one way to become convinced by this approach to be more open, be more inclusive. That's one idea that I have.
Yeah, Kristoffer, would you like to add something?
Yeah, just that I think in our big team of people who was working on the vegan challenge when we started doing this project, I think there was a little bit of skepticism about why do we do this rebranding and talk about climate, why not just vegan? And I think actually this doing collaborations with other organizations and seeing the same problem from a different perspective, I think has been that helps with getting out of the vegan bubble also for us, the people who work on it, I think.
Sure. Yeah, so let's go back to talking about our collaborations. So actually, I wanted to ask each of you which collaborations you think were most valuable in the challenges, and how did you manage to get them? Yeah, maybe Kristoffer, actually, can you start? Yeah, sure. I think the most valuable thing has been the change in the way all these organizations communicate about the issue. I remember back, I think in 2015, from our side, from the animal rights perspective, there was a lot of criticism of the environmental organizations. There was the movie Cowspiracy describing how they thought that these organizations don't talk about this issue at all. I think since then there's been such a major change
that it's now very common that the environmental organizations, they talk about the need to change the food system and have less animals and more plant-based. And I think probably part of that change has been that there is now more collaboration between these organizations working on the same goal. Probably it's many factors, but I think just that thing that many organizations from different perspectives come together and say clearly that we need to change the food system. I think that has been the best thing that has come out of it in the long-term effect.
Sure. And Alicia, what would you say?
I would like to also talk about the thing that Kristoffer just talked. I see a huge change in medical community when it comes to accepting plant-based diets, or not even accepting. Right now, it's even finally perceived as something that can be a tool in improving health of population. And I remember when we started, when I was still a student, and the first times when we were discussing or talking about plant-based diet was quite scary to me. Like I had this need to have all the sources all over around and be ready to any kind of criticism and to show the persons that here you have this article and here you have that, because the people were so against and see so many dangers of plant-based diets. And right now, really in these few years, it really changed and people became more open. And right now, even if of course there is still some skepticism, I think the more prominent problem is not the skepticism, but the lack of resources and proper knowledge on how to use plant-based diet in health improvement and in prevention of diseases. So, of course, for me, the most important collaborations are those made within medical community, again, for example, family physicians. And as I said before, we managed to get there thanks to our previous works. So this is like a continuity of our activities, which shows or which proves that it is very important to have good collaborations and to nurture them and to take care of how the things goes, because you never know when you need to approach the same persons again. And this common support, mutual support of different initiatives is very important. But yeah, as I said, right now, I think what we need to focus on are the needs of the niche that we are cooperating with, understanding the needs and looking through their lenses at the problem and trying to meet up these needs with our solutions. So for me, the need right now is having good tools to implement this knowledge. And I think I want to focus not only in this cooperation with Plant-Based Challenge, but in general in providing tools for physicians and adult healthcare professionals in order to implement this scientific knowledge that we already have. We just need to know how to make that happen.
Amazing. And Ania, what would you say?
Yeah, I would say again, like the collaborations with dietitians, nutritionists who have a large following. And I would also agree with what Alicia and Kristoffer said, that there's way more openness. We can now like talk about the plant-based diet. That's a huge step forward, like that we can talk about it. And it was really, I was really happy, and I didn't actually expect such a positive response from anyone whom we contacted. Like we just wrote out emails without any previous contact, and like some of them we had previous contact with, but I think we only got positive responses. Everyone was eager to support us, and that was really cool. Yeah, but it's no longer something that people are afraid of. That's no longer a topic that people don't want to like touch because it's too difficult or we're not ready for it. I think we are ready for it.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that we sent out a lot of emails in Sports Challenge. It was the first time we did that, and around 30 people responded positively. So that's a lot of influencers, a lot of people that we managed to get on our side with Health Challenge. Similarly, even more people. And But for me, I think that the most valuable collaborations as well were those that we had with ourselves. The collaboration with Polish Association of Lifestyle Medicine and with a sports campaign. Like, I really feel that without those, we wouldn't be able to make such great challenges, because using your guys' expertise made it so much easier for us, not only because we had more people to work with in general, but also because without Alicja and other people from Polish Association of Lifestyle Medicine knowledge, we wouldn't know how to reach out to the medical community that well.
Yes, and the plant-based challenge was an awesome tool that was there that we could use to further our message. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we need to wrap up shortly, actually, but I would like to say to everyone that we are open to network with you guys on inventory. If you reach out to us, we are very open to talk, to answer questions, and thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you very much, Kristoffer, Alicja, Ania, and everyone. I love you guys. It's been amazing working with you, and thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.